Well, hey there, my name is Jennifer Roskamp, also known as the Intentional Mom, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing 6 intentional mom mantras with you. And no, you don't have to be a mom to love these, embrace these, and to want to make these part of your lifestyle as well. As a certified intentional living coach, I help women all day long really embrace the idea of intentionality. It was about 12, 15 years ago that as a mom of 9, well, back then I didn't have 9 kids. These days I have 9 kids and 2 grandsons. And so I really learned that it was so important to make the moments count, because if we don't, the moments just slip by. And we want to always be doing what we can do to embrace those moments and to really make sure that we are spending at least some of the time doing the things that we really want to do. And so that's really where the idea of intentionality came from. And it is something that I am passionate about. It is something that hundreds and thousands of women who are along with me on this intentional living journey are also embracing. And I'm excited to share them with you in this video. So here we go. Let's dive in. All right, well, let's dive into these 6 mantras of intentional moms. And no, like I said before, you do not have to be a mom to find value in these, to embrace these, to say, you know what, I really want to pay attention to these in my life as well. By the way, if you want a pretty printable version of these mantras, there is such a beautiful PDF download of these that you can request we send to you. You'll find a link for that down below. So let's dive in. First of all, let me really quick tell you, what is a mantra? A mantra is really a thought, a truth, almost a little saying that you can collect. I have so many mantras. As a certified life coach, I have so many mantras. And what mantras do is they help us gain control over what's between your ears. They help you gain control over what is between your ears and what is in your mind, because our thoughts guide our feelings, which then guide our actions and the results and really the reality that we live every day. And as much as we would love to be able to control all the different circumstances, there are many circumstances in our lives that we can't. But this between your ears is one of those things that we can control. And so these mantras, again, I have so many, but these are really good 6 amazing grounding mantras that you can park your thoughts on these whenever you need them. And it will help give you a different perspective. It will help take you out of the back seat and put you into the driver's seat in your own life, which that's what we want. We want to be able to have some say-so over the things that are happening to us. So with that, let's dive into these mantras. Here's mantra number 1. What can I still do? We all know that life has a way of coming in and messing things up and not following our plan. And really, what can I still do? That is a way to, again, life comes in and turns you around a little bit and things are not looking like you thought they were going to look. Maybe it's your day doesn't look like you thought it was going to look. Maybe it's one particular event, one particular circumstance did not at all go like I had that planned. But what can I still do? One of the things I teach is called the skill of reassessment. And we're going to, I'm sure, unpack this more deeply in future videos, because it is such a vital skill if life ever seems to have other plans for you. But what can I still do? When something goes wrong, ask yourself, what can I still do? Because all is not lost. And this is a great mantra that will help you keep that as your perspective. The next mantra is, I'm going to set the stage of when you will use this. When you don't feel like doing something, right? You've got something on your to-do list. You've got something on your task list. There's something that you have to do. Maybe it's clean out the refrigerator, declutter a closet, clean out the garage, whatever it is. There's something on your list that you just don't feel like doing. And if you're being honest, you're not going to do it. And so when you find yourself in that situation, this is going to be the mantra that you haul out. And here it is. But what am I willing to do? So maybe you're not willing to do that particular thing. Maybe you're just, again, you're going to be honest and say, I'm not going to clean out the fridge. I'm not going to do the garage today. I'm just not doing it. For whatever reason, I'm just not. But what am I willing to do? Essentially, you're giving yourself permission to set that one thing aside. And if the resistance that you feel about doing that thing is too great, if it is too big of a thing, then at times this is totally an appropriate thing to do. Maybe it is just not possible to do that one thing today. Maybe you'll have to do that another day. Likely you will have to do that another day. But give yourself permission sometimes to set that thing aside, but ask yourself, but what am I willing to do? And then do that thing. The third mantra is one that I use all the time, sometimes through gritted teeth, because sometimes it feels like this one is not true. And sometimes it's just simply not true. Let's be honest. Here is the mantra. Nothing has gone wrong. It's just new information. So again, sometimes I say this through gritted teeth because it does feel like everything is wrong. You know what? Actually, there is a whole lot wrong. But in reality, if we can, again, just gain perspective and control over our minds and really give ourselves the perspective of, you know what? Okay, nothing has actually gone wrong. This is just new information that I need to deal with. So, you don't have to believe it's true, right? It can feel 100% of you can feel like there is something wrong. But what you're doing here is you're giving yourself this mantra, you're giving yourself permission. And really, you're kind of giving yourself the marching orders to look at it a different way and to say, you know what? Nothing has gone wrong here. Because when we think that something has gone wrong, when we look at it with that assessment, essentially we feel stuck. We feel powerless. We feel hopeless. We feel frustrated. And we can feel like there's no way out. But when we remind ourselves, you know what? Nothing has gone wrong. This isn't actually something that's gone wrong. This is something that I can deal with. This is something I can figure out. Maybe it's not ideal. I am not at all thrilled about this. But if I can just remember that nothing is actually wrong, it's just new information. Again, that allows me to get out of the back seat and get into the driver's seat and say, you know what? Here I am. I'm here anyway. I might as well figure it out. And it's much easier to figure something out when you aren't assuming that something has gone wrong. So nothing has gone wrong. This is just new information. Mantra number 4 is this one. Do what you can and then be done. Now, you may have heard something similar in terms of a mantra that says this. Do what you can and let go of the rest. And I like that one too. At times I use that one, but I feel like this one is a little bit more powerful because, again, do what you can and then be done. I can do this much of this task. I can give this much to this task or this thing. I can go this far today. But you know what? After that, I just need to be done for today. And the reason that I like this one is because I feel like we don't have to admit defeat quite so easily. It's more like we're making a choice to say, I'm done for now. It almost has a for now sort of feeling, which again, doesn't leave us having to feel like we failed. It doesn't leave us feeling like, again, like we were defeated. It's just kind of like, you know what? I'm hitting pause. It essentially gives us the feeling of hitting pause, which is a whole lot more comfortable to us than feeling like we failed. We want to avoid feeling that at all costs. So this does a really good job of saying, you know what? Do what you can and then be done. There's always another day. Now, it is important to note that if you're going to be done at some point, you have to do the first part as well. It's a 2-for-1. Do what you can and then be done. You can't just focus on the second half and say, you know what, I'm done. You have to actually do what you can first and then you can be done. So they do go hand in hand. So that's mantra number 4. Mantra number 5, nothing is all bad. Nothing is all bad. Initially though, it can feel, especially when things go wrong. And let me tell you, right? We all have circumstances where we can say, there is nothing about this situation. There is nothing about this circumstance that I like. This is challenging. This is hard. This is gut-wrenching. This is horrible. But it is also important to recognize that nothing is all bad. And I love following this up with something that Dan Miller was famous for saying. He would say, what does this make possible? Nothing is all bad. What does this make possible, right? There's always going to be whatever has changed about your situation. There is going to be something that has now become possible because of this situation that is now currently happening. But again, it's so easy for us to look at it and say, this is all bad. There's always going to be something that isn't bad. Nothing is all bad. That's the mantra number 5. And mantra number 6 isn't so much a mantra, it's more like a concept. But I wanted to leave you with this one here because it is so important and it is so essential with that calling to be more intentional, that calling to make sure that your life is filled at least some of the time with the things that actually matter to you, the things that you actually want to fill your time with, instead of always feeling like I'm constantly in the struggle of having to do all the things and none of it looks like anything I would even choose, right? We want to make sure that our lives reflect what's important to us some of the time as well. And so this is a concept that is so important to understand, but I think it's countercultural to what we tend to think we're being told. And it really is kind of a lie in that way. And I think it's a lie that we easily believe. So here's what it is. Self-care is not selfish. Self-care is not selfish. It's actually wellness. Again, we hear the word self and we think that when we do something, and I'm not talking about hour-long bubble baths here. I've got 9 kids. Remember, that's not my reality. Probably not your reality. There's self-care can happen in a lot of different ways, and it doesn't have to be huge, fancy, time-consuming things. But when we hear the word self in that concept of self-care, what happens is we think we're the only ones who benefit. And in reality, if we are pouring out and pouring out and pouring out, we get to a point where we can do that. We can run on fumes and we can even run on empty for a while. But everyone is finally going to hit a point where they can't do that anymore. And now we've got to crash and burn on the other side. And we want to be able to avoid that. But we feel like when we take time for ourselves, when we maybe spend money on ourselves, when we do something that is more us focused, we feel like we're not supposed to do that. And we assume if it falls under that umbrella of self-care, it's only us who benefits. But in reality, that is so not true. If we are running on fumes, if we are running on empty, what is the quality of your relationships going to look like? How are you going to, what kind of person, what version of yourself are you going to bring to your job? What version of yourself are you going to bring to everything and everyone you're in contact with? If your wellness is suffering, those things are going to be suffering as well. And that's where we have to remember and keep focused on the idea that everybody benefits from when we have some self-care as part of our regular-ish life. Again, to whatever degree it works, right? Life is full of seasons. Maybe right now your self-care is barely enough. But it is wellness that we can't lose sight of. We cannot continue to forever and ever in a day push yourself backwards. There has to be this recognition that self-care is also wellness. It is part of what keeps life and the heartbeat in your home and the heartbeat in your work and the core of every relationship you have. It is part of what keeps those things going as well. And so we can't just hear the word self and focus there and assume that's all there is to it. It's not. It's actually wellness. It's taking care of yourself as well, and everybody around you also benefits. So that's what I had for you today. That is the 6 mantras of intentional moms, but you don't have to be a mom to use them. Again, if you want a pretty PDF download of these, make sure to check that out below. And I will see you soon in the next video. Until then, make it a great day.